Adriana Legalvo. I'm the managing director at 1000 Days. And I'm very happy to be here with you all this afternoon and to be able to have with us Kimberly Seals-Aller and Jan Johnson, who you will hear from momentarily, to talk about this really important issue around misinformation campaigns or disinformation campaigns related to breastfeeding. To kick us off. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here in New Orleans, totally throwing my diet to the wind, and seeing so many great faces. As Adriana mentioned, we're here to talk about a really important subject that I wish we didn't have to talk about. But we have to deal with the situation that we're in. And the fact of the matter is, breastfeeding is under attack. We saw this recently even with the World Health Assembly meeting, what happened with the breastfeeding resolution. Adriana talked a little bit about what we're going to discuss around what's happening in the media, but we can no longer just turn a blind eye to the fact that breastfeeding is under attack, and it's a threat to our work. It's a threat to your work and the gains that we've been making in helping mothers and supporting mothers in breastfeeding. And so as much as we've been focused on working with mothers, dealing with mothers, we cannot just focus on direct service without thinking about the environment that mothers are in, because increasingly this is becoming more influential, right? We know that mothers are getting their information more from the internet and from social media. We know that physicians, in many places are becoming less influential, and what other mothers say or what they see on social media is becoming more influential. So we cannot really ignore this situation anymore. Our job, yes, we have to promote breastfeeding, but we also have to protect breastfeeding, right? And we can't do one without the other in this environment. We have to protect breastfeeding when it's being threatened, and this is a very clear threat to the work that's been going on. We fall into the gap of what we know exists. We're one of the few countries in the world that does not have, as part of our standardized system, that somebody is coming to your home to check on you after you have a baby. That is standard here. But we know that doesn't exist here. So mothers, what we also know, mothers are increasingly isolated from their social support networks and their families. Economics has made many of us have to move away from our families, our moms, et cetera, et cetera. So we're disconnected from our traditional support circles and those who used to teach us how to do those things. And we're kind of in this environment where mothers don't want to really ask for help, and there's a whole lot of things going on. But the fact that nobody shows up at your house leaves you on your own. And so many of these stories are where a mother goes home, and then in those days after birth, when she's home by herself, she doesn't know the signs around when a baby is not feeding well enough, and then a terrible thing happens, or a terrible thing almost happens. And so we have to recognize that this is one of the systemic gaps that they really prey on to make mothers more afraid. Lack of support, very much the same thing. In so many of these stories, if you've read them, you might be saying, well, where was, insert anybody's name there, a mother, a friend, the nurse who usually should call, somebody, right? There's a lack of support. And then they've even grown in our gaps, right? They have bet that the breastfeeding movement is not prepared to deal with their tactics. They attack baby-friendly hospitals, and most recently, they have begun to attack racial disparities, which should have all of us up in arms, right? Because those gains we must protect. So what do we know as part of what they do? Mothers are being primed with anti-breastfeeding support messaging. So what they do, they create this language that activists are going to pressure you, they're going to be aggressive in the hospital. So what happens to mothers when they go to the hospital? Because they've been told that the lactation consultant is aggressive, they've been primed with that message. So really, often anything that happens for them happens in that framework already. You get that? Because they've already been told that they're crazy, they're going to be pushy, and so they're already on guard and seeing what you may perceive as a very simple question, a very simple follow-up that may be strictly your protocol to ask a follow-up question, but when you've been primed, you receive that message very differently. This is what's happening. This is a form of oppression. Disinformation and misinformation is a form of oppression, and we can't ignore that.